You know, sometimes there are many movies I miss when they're in the spotlight when it first comes out to the public. I say this because I'm sure I need to have some reason why I didn't do a review for this sooner when it seemed to get announced on praise already, and people aren't still talking about it now, so, you know, I mean, how many conversations by chance have you heard people talk about this movie? You know, when you go out to eat and you hear someone behind you at your booth say, "Oh yeah, did you see Marcel the show with shoes on?" Anyways, I always feel weird how there are so many movies I go see that I love, and despite them only come out recently, like months later, it already feels like they came out last year. And this movie came out in July, but I was either too busy to go see it or didn't really care to go see it despite the good reviews when it came out. Now I think about it, yeah, it was the latter. When I first saw the trailer, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. It was a family movie from A24, and I sang their praises too many times to count. Most notably, The Lighthouse is my favorite movie of all time, but a kids movie from the company was something I expect to make it feel unique at the very least, albeit strange, but, you know, A24. Also, watching the trailer, this made me feel like this was based on something prior, which it was a short film by Dean Fleisher Camp and Jenny Slate, or a series of shorts and other stuff. In the early 2010s, Marcel shorts were very popular. I never heard of them until I saw the trailer, so I looked up the first short film, and it was cute. Nothing that spectacular, but it definitely was. Okay, actually it was a while since I even watched that short, so I don't have an opinion. It was weird when the movie was over and looking up some details about the film. It made so much more sense and definitely helped me feel confident of what I wanted to say and got out of watching this movie. So what did I think of the movie? Personally, I feel like if I watch a movie that really comes out way long after people will care to hear me talk about it, and I don't really have anything new or worthwhile to say since the movie itself makes me feel that way, I won't add it to my review list since I don't care. For example, DC's League of Super Pets. Remember that? The only thing I could say about that movie was that it was the third animated movie I saw this year where the bad guys control an army of evil hamster or guinea pigs. Am I the only one to notice this? With that said, Marcel is something I fell in love with once I was done watching it, and in some ways I wish I did see it on the big screen, but I think I'm fine that I didn't. The film is a comedic drama mockumentary combining live action and animation directed by Dean Fleisher Camp, written by Camp, Jenny Slate, and Nick Paley, and edited by Camp and Paley. It actually follows Camp playing himself in the film, where he is making a documentary when he stays at an Airbnb and finds a shell that has, you know, eyes and legs with shoes, named Marcel, voiced by Jenny Slate. It shows just how Marcel does live in this house and the interesting ways he does handle this daily routine, like traveling inside a tennis ball to get around places or taking care of his grandma, Nanna Connie, voiced by Isabella Rosellini, who works in her garden. And it's very cute and wholesome, but we learn how Marcel feels very lonely when his other family members or friends or anyone else in his community of shells with shoes on, since they are now gone when the ex-boyfriend of the original owner of the house accidentally took the other shells, so Marcel wants to find them again. And since Dean introduces many ways Marcel can do so, since one of the first things Marcel does is when the first video Dean makes about him goes viral, he tries to reach out for people to help, but it doesn't seem to work, and other stuff such as leaving the house for the first time but not realizing how truly big of a world it is outside of his home. So as the documentary goes on, we both learn more about Marcel and Dean. We hope things can work out well for these two, even if some bad things that come both their ways can't be changed. I love this movie so much, and that I had to talk about. I love this movie so much, I had to talk about it. This is one of the most heartfelt kid movies I've seen since the Paddington movies, and it's very comparable, but I'll get into this later. Marcel is such a sweet character. He's very naive, but he's not dumb. He's able to pick up things very quickly, and he's able to talk back to people like someone in a friendly way rather than someone, you know, some bratty kid or someone who tries to be snarky and fit. Like, I love this scene where he asked Dean for help, but Dean said the documentary is about Marcel himself, so he shouldn't get involved, and Marcel pointing out how he might use this documentary as a way for him not to be in the moment, which is something I always do whenever I think of filming a vacation. And it's not some stupid message about spending too much time on social media either. Dean himself is just going through a divorce, and his documentary with Marcel does not feel like him trying to take advantage of Marcel like he never does it for profit. You feel a genuine friendship made between the two throughout the film, but you can tell when what the movie is trying to get across, because it's shown that the only other family Marcel has left is Connie, and things for her are also changing. You know, can you guess what is changing with them? Well, it is very heartfelt how much he cares for her, as you know what's going to happen to her later on with him, as he's sad and horrified of this like anyone would, but connecting to the movie seems to change. it works. You know, Dean himself in some ways is making this movie to ignore his own life since he's going through a divorce, so this documentary is a distraction since whenever he's called out on, he doesn't want to be in the movie himself since that would mean he can't be behind the camera. It's very subtle and many kids wouldn't notice it. Speaking of, as a kids film, by A24 no less, it is a great kids film with many laughs, like Marcel using a piece of fusilini pasta as a shofar, or the grandma falling asleep on a keyboard and she's just on the Z button so the screen just shows Z after C. It's a kids film like Paddington that has jokes both for kids and grown-ups of any age, without either being too childish or too mature. My personal favorite joke might be the one where after a tense scene they use it to make the mood lighter and it doesn't ruin the tone, where Dean is in a neighbor's tree for a shot and it's nothing over the top. It's subtle and realistic, so it feels natural and funny. The real life people behind the camera, Jenny Slate and Dean, were a couple, but they divorced, and I don't think I saw many interviews with them together when promoting the film, and I don't think they had any problems working together. The final product wouldn't seem that way, and Dean does play a fictional version himself, so I wouldn't want to presume him in the movie is the real him, but what I got out of the movie was that change will happen, it can't be stopped, and it might hurt, and you hope that those you might lose could come back to find a way to make you happy again, but it can't always. So it's important to look for people who both care and love you, because that's what's going to make you happy. If I had any problem with the movie, despite being just 1 hour and 20 minutes, the pacing was a minor problem. It doesn't really have huge laughs, but I prefer good jokes over bad ones. But my problem is Jenny Slate's voice, which if I didn't know it going into was her, I never guessed, but I wish it sounded a bit more boyish, since I get Marcel's like a young kid, so it wouldn't sound like a grown man's voice, but he still sounds like a little girl than a boy. But she's unrecognizable, so it's not a problem. I mean, the best thing about the movie is the animation, which after seeing the Disney Plus Pinocchio remake, oh boy, stay tuned for that review. The characters really look like they are in the room. They never question how Marcel exists, so it doesn't ruin the magic or feeling this is real. I mean, it feels real. Marcel felt real, like Paddington did, despite being a bizarre thing, not to try to ask how people don't question this character existing. Since the movie is lovely, everyone else's acting is so good, it's believable they are talking to this talking shell. My favorite scene in the movie, though, is what might look like the final shot of the movie, which I didn't hate when what came afterwards, since I thought this was still a great way to end the movie. Animation is beautiful throughout, but keeping in mind the movie's themes and Marcel's goal, this had one of the biggest smiles a movie got me in a while when you see this shot in the movie that looks like it might be the final one, but it isn't. But still, it did get one of the biggest smiles out of me in a while, so thank you. And yes, I also cry at times. This movie is fantastic. It's not that memorable in some spots, nor do I feel like would feel that fresh on a second rewatch, honestly. But I don't care. This is definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. So, congratulations, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Mazel tov. I give Marcel the Shell with Shoes On a 9 out of 10.